Well, this month, South Africa is celebrating Women's Month. The month is celebrated annually to pay tribute to the more than 20,000 women who marched to the Union buildings on the 9th of August back in 1956 in protest against the extension of past laws to women. Now, this year's Women's Month commemoration is held under the theme celebrating 30 years of democracy towards women's development and marking the 68th anniversary of this historic in March. Commissioner Prabashni Subrayan-Naidoo from the Commission for Gender Equality joins us now in order to give us some sense of how far we have come as a nation in trying to bridge that equality gap between men and women. Commissioner, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Firstly, happy Women's Month to you. And let's talk about it. I mean, 30 years of women's rights in the country. How far have we come as a country in bridging that gap of equality? And talk to us about some gains as well as misses.
Good afternoon, Alicia, and good afternoon to your viewers. Thank you for having me. 30 years is a long time. Yes, we have progressed. We have come far. We see the representation of women in government, in the public and private sector. But have we addressed the pay gap? We have, in some instances, but there's also misses that we've had. We've had many issues where women have been ostracized because they come from women-headed households, where the pay gap has been a huge issue. The issues have been further compounded by gender-based violence, and further that women tend to support their extended families. Have we come far? Yes. Is there a long way to go? Yes. Some of the issues that women face is that gender-based violence and femicide remains a pandemic in this country. And economically, women lack empowerment. And what we call on as the Commission for Gender Equality is that we would like to see the progression, more progression of women in not just the private sector, but also the public sector. You've just come off the Limpopo provincial address, and we've heard that the Premier is a woman. These are things that the Commission for Gender Equality welcomes. There are misses, like, for example, let's look at the issues in sport. In Banyana, they are not receiving the same pay gap as our companions, the Bafana. And these are issues that the CGE has raised and addressed. We understand that there is issues in terms of sponsoring, etc., but we think there's more that SAFA can do.
Very interesting that you bring that up, Commissioner, because I wanted to discuss how far we are in terms of the recognition of women in workspaces. It is understood, and it is fact that women are still far behind and lacking when it comes to being promoted or installed in those key decision-making roles, be it in Parliament. We've seen now we've got a Speaker, we've got a new Chief Justice, well, soon to be new Chief Justice. So we are slowly but surely making headways in that regard. But I mean, there's still, of course, quite a long way to go. Let's talk about what you think or deem are some of the key industries where we really need to focus on issues of transformation, as well as the recognition and inclusion of women in key roles.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned the incoming Chief Justice. I'd like to mention the 2016 report that the CGE released, where we spoke of gender transformation in the judiciary. And one of our findings is that there was a lack of gender transformation in the CGE. And we, as the Commission for Gender Equality, believe that the appointment of the incoming Chief Justice, Maya, will eradicate this imbalance and will address the imbalance of gender equality. I would just like to take this opportunity to wish incoming Chief Justice Maya all the best. Insofar as addressing the issues in the private sector, we have a long way to go in many private sectors. Some of the examples I can give you is the mining sector, where gender transformation is still in its early stages. For a democracy that's 30 years old, we should, by this stage, Alicia, have equal representation of gender equality. There is no provision being made for women insofar as women who are heading the households, who says to us, you know what? We need facilities provided to take care of our kids should we be coming to work after hours. We need breast care facilities where we need to nurse our children. These are issues that are not being addressed by the private sector, which we would like to see addressed in the months, days, and years to come. Remember, Alicia, we speak of a young democracy, but we're fast approaching 40 years, which will make us what? Middle-aged in terms of democracy?
Very interesting indeed there, Commissioner. I mean, let's talk about that. Women, particularly in the workplace, and I'm glad that you mentioned issues like when they need to take maternity leave. In some sectors still do not provide for these. And the balance between work life as well as home life. We know that patriarchy still persists in many instances when it comes to this. So what are some of the types of conversations that you as the Commission are currently engaging on in ensuring that you, of course, champion some of these inequalities pertaining to women?
Well, as you know, Alicia, as the Commission for Gender Equality, we hold accountability hearings. And it's during these accountability hearings that we look at whether both the private and public sector are complying with laws and making provisions for gender equality. In circumstances where they do not, we make necessary recommendations to the entities and say to them, these are areas of concern. These are areas that we'd like you to address. And once we have done that and we made recommendations, we then present a report to Parliament. And Parliament needs to then take the necessary steps to ensure that we have companies that are complying with laws relating to gender equality.
A very quick one, Advocate. I mean, on issues of GBV, we know that the President did sign a bill that seeks to deal with issues pertaining to gender-based violence as well as femicide in the country. Do you feel that this bill in its current form and, of course, in its current shape, do you feel that it is properly being implemented and that we are moving towards a space where men will ultimately respect women and not be violent towards women in the country?
Look, Alicia, a lot remains to be seen insofar as the bill is concerned. I, for one, think that the bill can be improved, but it's only going to be with time, and we'll see how the bill is received and how victims respond to the bill.